Okay, so yeah, I moved to Denver from Northern Virginia in 2014 because in 2014 in Northern Virginia I went into a little period of unemployment. So, somebody suggested, why don't you do something, with your time that's productive? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to travel, and went on kayak.com, saw a ticket to Colorado was only $100 something one way, and I'm like, I can go to Colorado tomorrow for $100.
What year was this?
2014.
Okay.
I'm going, and I was getting into hiking.
Wow.
And so I had my hiking backpack with my tent. I'm going to go
Right.
camp and everything. I get to Colorado in May, and it's still a bunch of snow on the mountaintop, so I couldn't, do the hiking I wanted. But I saw the potential out here. Like, it was way better than Northern Virginia. I was happy. There's outdoor stuff to do. I could take the bus to the mountains. I could never do that in
And you were in the
Virginia.
Springfield part of Northern Virginia,
Yep.
which I lived in briefly.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that
And,
is.
yeah, so, I find myself out in Colorado. I had been interested in Costilla County because I'd found your videos because I'd been looking on eBay for off-grid land out west. And
I heard that Costilla County was on eBay.
all over eBay, and so I'm like, I need to see how many people are living on these properties. I'm going to look up YouTube.
Yeah, you'd actually think that would set off alarm bells for some people, but
Yeah.
no. So that's cool, okay.
And I was like, I was looking, so I'm like, I got a YouTube people doing off-grid stuff. Costilla County, you're the only one that had any kind of off-grid videos in that area for, like, the longest time. Like, a few people had other videos, but I saw quite a few yours. That's how I discovered your channel. And I discovered, you were on kind of the same thing I was. I'd watched a lot of Alex Jones documentaries, and, so I was kind of hip to, the fact that the government was up to some serious stuff, and they had been for a long time.
Yeah, just throwing in his earlier stuff was very inspiring to me, even to inspire me to want to make similar documentaries. But the direction he's gone in now...
I remember when he even said, he's like,
different
it's
direction.
not the Muslims who are the terrorists, it's the government that's the terrorists. I remember he said that quote by
And I don't
quote.
want to derive from our main
And then he went
conversation, but I
over
wish
to
I
that.
could sit down with a lot of people that support him now, that just started listening the last few years, that weren't around when I was around 10 years ago, 15 years ago, acting like, some could say a fool with a megaphone, screaming 9/11 was an inside job through a megaphone, moving traffic. But literally, I was one of the few that did that in the whole city of Portland, because it felt like we were part of a brethren, really a brotherhood of goodness, and that Alex Jones was spearheading that. So he played that role of, I am straight up good. This is of the divine. We are literally stand up against Satan's army. And they weren't there. They weren't there 10, 15 years ago, part of or even 5. It's only in like the Obama thing kind of created a thing to rally around how they've been victimized, and then here's the hero, and there's this constant problem, reaction, solution, and then flipping of the, now you like the person in office, now you don't like the person in office. And the way they've got that down, and they've got people today sounding like and acting like Obama supporters, how they treated me back in the day. Well, if you're not with us, you're with this other radical extremist element that we've been warned about in the mainstream media. It's like they're working both sides.
There's a crazy division thing going on.
So, the people that like Alex now should be able to see, back in the day, those documentaries. I'd like to be able to have one sit down and watch 9/11 Road to Tyranny. And have them watch it the whole way through, almost like MK Ultra. No, sit down, bitch, and watch that shit. Now, tell me, is Alex Jones still your daddy? Because this is what he was doing after 9/11. He was telling us that things are not as they seem, and there's another reason that they're at war. He was even, and then play the clip, saying they were straight up gang raping these kids for false confessions from their parents. Now, that's a big allegation to make, and there was evidence to substantiate abuse against detainees. And then to go that direction and then demonize those people as actual terrorists because they're trying to... That's like as 180 as you can get.
That blew my mind. And I'm so glad you were, talking about, Alex Jones going off. If I hadn't seen, a lot of your warnings on it, I was like, I'm worried. Would I have been on that same ignorant-ass boat, But...
What do you mean? You're saying that you just heard that from me initially? About the deception?
Warning about Alex Jones, your warnings about Alex Jones definitely...
There are a lot of anti-Alex Jones videos that are on YouTube. There's thousands. But not a lot of them make sense to me. They trail off into different directions. They go into racial stuff. Is Alex Jones a Jew? What about his wife? And things that... Bill Hicks. Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. So when I look at, the criticisms that others have brought up, it tends to trail off into a lot of, dead ends. There are some good commentators out there, but they don't really hit the nail on the head with regards to the race war machine working through Alex Jones. That's like an issue that's taboo, and it's become a taboo issue even on YouTube to talk about that, because now anybody is accused of being like a libtard snowflake if they're talking about this propaganda and people doing 180s. To the point where there are people doing the snowflake thing that are on the right, where they're acting like snowflakes when they just hear a different perspective, just to blow up. Like
they got triggered.
They get triggered. They get triggered explosively, and it shows. And they don't want to be called a snowflake themselves, or they will flip out.
And that's why it's definitely like going beyond the left-right paradigm is like the biggest thing I'm trying to tell every average American. Like all my friends who post any kind of political slanted stuff, I'll come at them. I'll be like, why don't you just go beyond those two dividing factors? You know, start to really think about and comprehend the whole issue.
We're having a deeper problem with Kyle Reardon wrote an article called Controlled Schizophrenia, but that would be a great way to describe it, where you're having like two opposite belief systems, but you think like, you know, someone may think that they're genuine, but they have like obsolete belief systems or things that are going in opposite of each other, and they can't recognize that. So someone could be talking about like a left-right paradigm and ranting like left-right paradigm while supporting Trump, or they can also be supporting Obama, Biden, Hillary, or anybody for that matter. But if they're talking about the system and they're supporting one wing of the system, then they're being hypocritical. Yeah. So there's like so many different ways psychologically in which people find ways to argue for their hypocritical nature, to where it really makes sense they're hypocrites. It's not strange they're hypocrites. They're not exposed. They're not like, wow, that's really something to think about. They're like using their intellect to argue being a hypocrite to the very last breath, whether they are a diehard Obama supporter or a Trump supporter. I have no problem saying that one breath. If I were to go back to Portland tomorrow, and I don't think that I should, I'd be done with the same shit. So what if they don't like Trump? There are like mobs of people that are angry over, and maybe Denver too. Denver might be better, but there are people that like gravitate together over who they're angry about.
Yeah.
And I just see that on the left and the right, and it doesn't really lead to a happy place. Even if you're amongst like minds of angry people and you're drinking and I'll just say screwing, and just a bunch of angry, pissed off people that don't have.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that we should centralize our political candidates. That's not going to work. But people in Portland, I just have come across a lot of the angry nihilist leftist. Like, our job's to, like, fist, destroy the system. You know, that whole archetype where they literally have video games based on that idea.
Really?
That's called The Corporation, I think. 2000.
Is it like a riot game?
It's like a shoot 'em up style thing to where, but you're like running around like creating havoc in a mall. I've mentioned this a few times, to where they capitalized on the anger against the system, the rage against the machine. Hence Incorporated, Rage Against the Machine. But it's this video game by Rockstar Games, and where you're like running around the mall and you're chasing businessmen with briefcases, and they have points, and to the point where there's attacks on storefronts with straight up automatic weapons, and it's just amazing that. And I don't blame everything on video games, but we've been dealing with years now of this type of early predictive programming, capitalizing on all different types of anger and doomsday plots. Like Far Cry 5, the new video game.
Oh, I had to watch the trailer for that the other day, and like, so yeah, they're all, you know, all the off-grid people are like extreme